Greetings and salutations! Welcome to the EzeeLinux Show. This is version 18.12, recorded March the 9th, 2018. I'm Joe Collins, your host. In this show, we're going to take a first look around Ubuntu 18.04 Beta 1. But before we get to that, I want to say a big thank you to a lot of folks out there. First of all, we crossed 4,000 likes on Facebook. And right on the heels of that, I noticed that we were fast approaching the 50,000 subscriber mark on the YouTube channel. 50,000 people, that's a lot of folks who want to watch these videos, and I'm very humbled by that. And usually I don't make a big deal about subscriptions. I figure if you like what you see, that you will subscribe, but let's see if we can get that number up to 50,000 sooner than later. If you are just finding the channel, please subscribe. If you are already subscribed, then share it with your friends. Get other folks to subscribe. We only need a few, like, what is it, a couple thousand people before we hit that 50,000 mark. And if that happens, as near as I can tell, that means that this will be the most popular YouTube channel that is 100%, well, 99.9% devoted to Linux and open source. I have thrown videos in about other things every now and again, and it would be awesome to be able to say that, because then we could point our fingers at a lot of people and say, I told you so. I posted a very nice note about this, which is what you see on your screen here. I'm not going to read it verbatim. I'm going to put it in the description, not the subscription, for the video, and you can read it there. It's also on the Facebook page, and it's on the front page of EzeeLinux.com right now, and you can read more about that and my thoughts on it. It's been an amazing journey. I started out doing this, like it says here, just wanting to share my Linux journey, and it has become quite a force in the Linux community. A lot of people listen to these videos, and it's not so much me they're listening to as much as it is that they're listening to what I tell them that you say to me, because I get your feedback all the time. And the EzeeLinux community is devoted to regular people doing regular computer stuff on Linux. A lot of the other tech channels out there, they're geared toward the server jockeys and the nerds and the developers, which is nothing wrong with being any of those things, but I've always thought that our audience was a little bit more just the everyday user. And if you listen to some people in the Linux community, you don't exist. Their attitude is that if you're not writing code, or you're not a graduate of some computer science class, you shouldn't be using Linux. And of course that's ridiculous. So anyway, I go into a lot more detail in the actual letter here. It's just a few paragraphs long, and if you want to, you can take the time to read it. One more thing that I will say from this is that I'm very happy that whatever success this channel has had has been without fancy promotions or gimmicks or even really good video production. It's all content, and it's what you guys have kind of pushed it along to be. So thank you very much for that. Almost hitting that 50,000 mark. Let's see if we can get there sooner than later. All right, let's talk a little bit about Ubuntu 18.04. And I have Ubuntu 18.04 up and running in a virtual machine. This is a picture of what Ubuntu 18.04 is going to look like when they're done with it, or at least what they think it's going to look like. They have a new theme that they're putting in here with new icons. That has not landed in the beta yet. We're still looking a whole lot like Ubuntu 17.10, but those sorts of changes usually come in at the last minute. They have, as promised, done some work with the installer. So as of yesterday, when I downloaded the daily build, this is what it looked like. The first thing that you're asked is about your language and your keyboard. And then the next one, we get some more options. We can do a minimal installation now, which basically means that if you click that, it doesn't install any software. You get the desktop and you get a base installation, and then if you want to put LibreOffice and Thunderbird and anything else in it, there you go. You're going to have to do it yourself. That's a new feature, and you can download updates now while you're actually installing, which you've always been able to do. But now that is checked by default. I never do that. I just never do. So now they have it where it's checked by default. And somewhere on this page, at some point, they're going to, of course, ask us whether we want to share a report about our system information at the end of the installation. And when that comes along, we'll have a look at that. That will probably drop in at the very, very last minute, unless the community uproar has driven them away from the idea, and I haven't heard one way or the other. That's the way it's going to be. So we shall see. I'm all for sending basic anonymous information to Canonical so the developers have a base to work with and kind of know what we're doing with it. If they ever decided that they were going to send any kind of personal information that could lead directly to me, then that would be an entirely different story. And of course, keep in mind, gang, those of you who are all like, well, they're collecting data. This is the open source community, and there are such things as wire sniffers, and any kind of data that they would try and send out surreptitiously, somebody out there would catch. So I have, a lot of faith in the fact that Canonical, if they did follow through with what they said they were going to do, which they haven't done yet in this particular beta, that it's going to be up and up, on the up and up. We'll see. We'll see. And then we just get to the next page, which is pretty standard, and that's what it looks like. And I took screenshots of this because I already have it installed in a virtual machine, and it looks like this when it's running. Looks like Ubuntu 17.10 at this point. I'm actually using this on my G6, HP G6 laptop, and have been for quite some time. I've been running the daily build, and it has worked surprisingly well. It has not crashed. It has not had any major problems. The only thing that I've done with it is like, web browsing, email, stuff like that. I did install a bunch of applications that I kind of like to have around, and I ran into no trouble. Everything that I needed was there, and there are a couple of peculiarities going on here. So the first thing I want to talk about, and this may very well be a holdover from Ubuntu 17.10, so it might change when the final version comes along, but this is something that nobody ever talks about in the Linux community, and it bugs the crap out of me. You noticed in the install snapshots, the screenshots that I showed you earlier, that you had the opportunity to install third-party codecs, and one of the things they talked about was Fluindo MP3. Fluindo MP3 is a ripoff, and here's how it works. Ubuntu installs an extra package to GStreamer called Fluindo, and essentially what it does is it makes your MP3 audio sound like crap. This started in Ubuntu 14.04, and the idea is that you go to a page somewhere and that you pay like $35 to get quote-unquote premium codecs from Fluindo, and then your MP3s will sound the way they're supposed to. Now, this beta shipped with Fluindo installed, with that particular package. So in order to get rid of that, if you're going to be using Ubuntu, and by the way, this happens in Ubuntu official flavors and regular Ubuntu with what they're using now, which is the Gnome Desktop. But it doesn't happen in Linux Mint. It doesn't happen in stuff based on Ubuntu because those distributions don't participate in the ripoff. And so this is what you need to do to get rid of it. So sudo apt, and then I like to use purge just to make sure it's completely gone. You can use remove here. And it is GStreamer, and then it's Fluindo. Now all that is a little package that seems to screw up the audio in MP3s. That's all it does. It makes things sound gritty and all kinds of nastiness. Now if you just remove that, like so, yes, I do want to actually remove the thing, then it goes away. And what happens is that you have the regular GStreamer packages installed, and now it works, and everything sounds the way it should. So just to point that out, I point that out every time that I do a video talking about an Ubuntu fresh release, because I want people to know that that's out there. Now, some of you don't play MP3 files, but I've got a huge collection of MP3s, so I play them, and I like them to sound good. Just pointing that out. Okay, another thing that you're going to notice here is that you do not have some basic tools installed like Ifconfig. See, it's not there. So what you have to do to get it is you have to install NetTools. They have deprecated Ifconfig in favor of this program called IP. Now, this has been going on for quite some time. And if you type in this command, it's supposed to give you the same information that Ifconfig does, but it gives it to you in a much less organized fashion. And if you have a program or a script out there that is actually using Ifconfig to find an IP address, which I actually have a program that I use all the time that does that, you'll have to install it by hand, and that's all you got to do is sudo apt install NetTools. And there are a few other tools in here that I've noticed. I think maybe gksudo is not here. Let me see if that's not installed. And I noticed this with 17.10 as well. So let's try and open gedit and see if it's here. So good old gedit. Yeah, see, we have no gksudo. It's not there. gksudo is a package that lets you open up graphic applications from the command line with the proper permissions and have the correct environment. Of course, you can just use sudo, but that sometimes can cause a problem. Most people just do it that way anyway, I know, but just being a little bit persnickety here about the whole situation, okay? I wanted to point that out. So as you roll through, you may find that some of these little things aren't there. And that could be from upstream from Debian as well, and I haven't done enough digging in Debian to know. Other than that, other than those little bugaboos that I just showed you, I really can't find much to complain about. I mean, I thought Ubuntu 17.10 was useful, although, like, we all knew that Ubuntu 17.10 was a beta for 18.04. We knew it going in. Like, they had Wayland enabled by default. This has Xorg. They're not doing that this time around. Wayland definitely still needs work, for sure. And of course, when 18.04, I showed you we're going to get a new theme. The software is much improved, this particular application. It seems to work quite well. I was actually able to install GDebi and Synaptic Package Manager and pretty much all of the applications that I needed. And of course now, which is a really nice thing, Simple Screen Recorder is in the repos, so I don't have to hook up a PPA. I don't have to go searching for that. There's another package that I use all the time called MP3 Gain, and I've talked about that in videos before. That's if you have a vast number of MP3 files and you want to set the levels to be, the same from song to song. You can use that program to do it, and it's non-destructive, which means it doesn't re-encode the audio, and it doesn't just set replay gain. It actually changes the frame audio in MP3s. I know a lot of people don't care about that, but that's the kind of stuff that I always look for. Thank God Martin Wimpress maintains the MP3 gain package, and you can find it from his PPA and download it directly, which is really nice. And also I found that the older Ubuntu 18.04 version works fine here, because it's just a little tiny program. It's not that big a deal. What kernel are we on, folks? Well, in the beta, we are currently on 4.15.0-10. And so we are going to get the 4.15 kernel. Originally, I'd heard that it was going to be 4.14, but they've moved it up a notch. There's all kinds of goodies in the 4.15 kernel, and I'm very happy to see that it's landing, and it works perfectly on my hardware. I have booted this thing up on everything that I own. I've really not come across any problems. Everything has worked quite well. And on the G6 laptop, it's all Intel with Intel graphics, and it has an Intel i3 processor in it. It actually runs really, really well. Just no complaints about it. So that is kind of a first look at Ubuntu 18.04. I think it's going to be a really solid release for the Ubuntu people, and of course we're going to be looking at the flavors as they come along as well. There's been a lot of work done on Ubuntu Mate, Ubuntu Budgie, and when the final release comes out, I'm sure that we'll hear a lot about those from other people in the community as well. But I like to kind of pay attention to just straight up Ubuntu, just to kind of keep an eye on what they're doing. And we'll take a look here. They've done some nice tweaking. They've worked on the settings a little bit. So this is a little bit more logical than it was before in 17.10, and it seems to work quite well. Here's you can set up your online accounts. We have a privacy tab, and this is where you can. I have been told that in privacy you will be able to disable any anonymous reporting to Canonical as far as system statistics are concerned. So that's entirely up to you. One curiosity is that they are shipping this with the 3.26 version of Nautilus. This is 3.26.2. That's actually a bit old at this point, and the reason why is because the mainstream GNOME project has decided that they don't want you to have icons on your desktop anymore, like we have the trash icon here. We're not going to do that anymore. They've just decided that nobody needs that in it, so they're going to get rid of it. And so the folks at Canonical, I guess they decided that having an active desktop was something that was important to them, so they're actually holding back the version of Nautilus. But other than that, it's still just Nautilus, and it's pretty basic. And if you compare Nautilus to Nemo and Dolphin as far as file managers are concerned, it's rather anemic. They have just removed a lot of features from this file manager over the years, and of course if they remove the active desktop, that's another thing going down the tubes. So I mean, any of the this is my least favorite file manager of all of the file managers that ship with Linux is Nautilus, because there's really nothing to it. It doesn't do much anymore. Nemo is my favorite. Dolphin is probably my second favorite with KDE, and I can dig Thunar and Kaha. Kaha comes with the Mate desktop and Thunar. They're great. They're no problem. PCFM with LXDE, that's a good one too. But this is the worst as far as just having different features are concerned. And one of the things that I don't like about the later versions is that if you go to copy a whole bunch of files, then you just get this little spinning dot up here in the corner, and then what you do is you have to click on that to get some sort of progress. And that's okay, I guess. I mean, it's just a tiny thing. It's just, I kind of like that. I kind of like that copy box that pops up and says, hey, you're copying some files, and this is how long it's going to take. Instead of having just that little thing come up in the corner, because I may try and close it when I know that I'm copying files or shut down the machine. I like something in my face that says, you're copying files, dummy. So anyway, it's GNOME. What do you expect? I mean, GNOME just removes features right and left. I think they've pretty much eliminated any sort of icons up here in the panel up top as far as status is concerned. I think that's a plug-in now. And of course, Ubuntu is shipping with their own different spin of the GNOME desktop. So if you want to have a regular GNOME environment, then you need to log into a GNOME session, I think. And there's a lot of things. You have to install things. Like you have to install GNOME Session in order to get some features. They've really stripped it down, and it is what it is. I'm not going to complain about it or say anything negative. On my laptop, I don't care. I've not had any issue with it. It's just, I just kind of go with the flow, and this is the regular, this is how it's set up, and I said, okay, I'm going to use it like that. I didn't feel it necessary to go in and try and install a bunch of stuff and add GNOME extensions and all that. I didn't. I just, whatever Ubuntu gave me, I used. The only thing I did do was install the tweak tool so I could make the fonts bigger on the laptop. And I've been using it for daily things, watching videos, email, stuff like that. Works great. Haven't had a problem. No crashes either. I don't know whether I've mentioned that already. If I did, I'm sorry I repeated myself. I was just kind of amazed. My last go around with Ubuntu 17.10, it kept locking up all the time when I was testing that, but Ubuntu 18.04 is not doing that. So there you go. And I like to look at Ubuntu and see what they're doing, because they kind of set the pace for everybody else. And especially when you're, like, we use Linux Mint around here. That's the main one we use on all our systems. Linux Mint, of course, is based on Ubuntu. So whatever Ubuntu does is going to affect Linux Mint whenever Linux Mint 19 comes along. And that's going to be a while. That'll probably be later on this summer that happens. And to tell you the truth, I have absolutely no plans of leaving Linux Mint 18.3, probably until 18.1 comes along. And that brings me to another point that is good to know. If you're currently running Ubuntu 16.04 and you want to upgrade to 18.04, you will not be offered that chance directly until the 18.04.1 version comes out. So if you're running 16.04 and you're waiting for them to prompt you to upgrade, that's not going to happen until 18.04.1. They want to get the kinks out of it, and that's when they'll do it, which I think is actually a pretty good idea. Of course, you could upgrade now if you wanted to. You could install the daily build. I will have a link to the daily build in the description for the video, so if you want to go download it, you can go look at the page. That's how they're doing it this time around. You just grab the daily build. And I intend to keep Ubuntu 18.04 running on my G6, and I'm going to just keep updating it and updating it and updating it. There's no particularly important data on that machine. It's just, like I said, my little laptop that I sit on the couch and answer emails and play videos on and things like that. So I'm just going to keep upgrading it, and we'll see what happens. And of course, when the final release comes out, we'll talk about it some more. We got a lot of interesting spins to talk about as well. So thank you for watching. That's going to be pretty much it for this video, gang. I'm kind of waiting to see. I know I didn't get to everything, did I? I'm not gonna. I mean, this is just beta. We don't want to draw too many conclusions when we're just looking at a beta release anyway. So let me see if this thing's going to let me out of here. Sometimes when I'm recording, yep, it'll do it. I didn't want to go there. I didn't want to go there. I wanted to go here, and then I wanted to go here. That's what happened. This is what it's going to look like when it's all said and done. Anyhow, using this as our end screen. Thank you for watching. We're all kind of waiting for Ubuntu at this point to do their thing, man. Everything has been so quiet in the Linux community, but there's a lot of conferences going on right now. There's a lot of stuff happening, so I'm sure that things are going to pick up very quickly here over the next month, and we'll have plenty to talk about here on the channel. And I do appreciate everybody who is following us on Facebook and watching our videos. And if you're not doing that, check us out on Facebook. Check out EzeeLinux on the web as well. And also, check out freedompenguin.com. Our friend Matt Hartley runs freedompenguin.com. A lot of good stuff going on over there. He's been uploading a lot of practical videos and doing some interesting things at Freedom Penguin, and a lot of folks contribute over there as well, so you want to check them out. And I'm done talking for now. Thanks for watching, gang. We will do it again soon. Of course, what was I going to say? I don't know. Probably a good idea to end on that. If I can't remember what I was going to say, then we can just stop. What do you think?